Coming up on this episode of Freedom from Fire. In today's society, it is difficult to engage with relatable yet compassionate role models. Today we'll learn how tremendous tragedy has propelled a woman on a path of mentorship to young men and women right here in the city of Philadelphia. And we'll highlight our next component of the Special Operations Command of the Philadelphia Fire Department, PA Task Force 1. Stay tuned for Freedom from Fire. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Freedom from Fire. I am your host, Deputy Fire Commissioner Craig Murphy. Here at Freedom from Fire, we aim to improve your quality of living by giving fire and life safety information. We'll also introduce you to our local safety partners. To start today's episode, we'll meet Ms. Maxayn Gooden. She's the founder and director for the Women of Valor Mentoring Program and the JA World Memorial Scholarship Fund and Mentoring. Ms. Gooden earned her degree in psychology from right here at LaSalle University. So without further hesitation, let's now introduce Ms. Maxayn Gooden. Hello, Maxayn.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
So let us start by just telling our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, my name is Maxayn. I was born and raised here in Philadelphia. I am the mother of 3 children. As you stated, I graduated with my bachelor's in psychology from LaSalle University. And that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about what encouraged you to or led you to establish a mentoring program.
Okay, so I established Women of Valor in 2017, and that just came about from things that I had been through in my life as a young girl. And I realized growing up that a lot of times these young women don't have outlets to share their stories. Also, they need someone that have gone through the same thing as they have. So that way, they have someone that understands them. Also, I wanted to share my story with them as well, and just bring them back to the basics of loving themselves, who they are, and stuff like that. And that's where Women of Valor came from.
Okay, great. So, so you say to share your story. Very briefly, a little bit about your story.
Okay. So just a little bit about my story. There was a time in my life where I did live with my real mom until I was 9 years old. I lived with the family the woman that I lived with, I thought was my mother.
Sure.
Until the age of 9. And then my mother, who I thought was my aunt at the time, came and took me, and then I found out that that was really my mom.
Wow.
And that was something that was never discussed. It was something I was just placed with my real mother, and I just grew up that way, no explanation as to why, that happened. And just different things that I went through when the transitions, you know what I mean, that
Sure.
I had to kind of grow up and get through on my own, in a sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that must have been a shock to you.
Yeah, it was.
Sure.
It really was.
So to participate in your mentoring program, how does someone register to be either a mentee or a mentor?
Okay, so normally what I do, it starts in September. So what I do, I just go out to different schools or rec centers and talk about my program, and I have a sign-up form. Also, though, I'm on Instagram and Facebook as well, so you can always connect with me there, and that's Women of Valor 74 at gmail.com as well.
Okay.
So you can also email me. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit more about the JA World Memorial Scholarship Fund, and what led you to initiating the JA World Fund?
So my son, whose name Jason Patton, he was a senior at Boys Latin High School. He was murdered in November of 2017 while visiting his sister in Harrisburg on his father's side for a Thanksgiving break.
Okay.
And never made it home.
Right.
So he had a 3.5 GPA.
Mm-hmm.
He played football. He was a senior. He had just got accepted into 4 colleges. And so I took that pain and just made it into purpose.
Sure.
Instead of me, dying in that moment, I just was like, okay, what can I do with this? And so I started the Memorial Football Scholarship in his name, and the scholarship helps young men with registration fees for football,
Okay.
with uniforms and stuff like that, because as a mom, I was a football mom. Those
Yes.
things can be very expensive.
Sure.
But also football, it teaches discipline and different things like that. So, it's a chance to give inner city youth something to do
Okay.
and also help them with the payments as well.
So who do you target with that? Like, you say inner city youth. Do you go to, is it schools? Is it
It
community?
doesn't even matter.
Okay.
It doesn't. So the website, you go on there and you can nominate a kid.
Okay.
If you see a child in need, you can nominate that kid. And what they have to do, they have to have the same characteristics as my son, which is the GPA. I asked for their report card. I asked what makes them stand out as a team leader and stuff like that.
Okay. That is awesome. I mean, it's so how do you market yourself? Like, how does, other than the folks who watch LaSalle TV now, like, how does anybody find out about the Child World Scholarship?
So Child World actually has a website for Child World.
Okay.
And that website is just childworld18.org.
Okay.
And on there you can read about Jason, about his life, and you can go on there and nominate a child. You can also go on there and donate as well to
Okay.
the scholarship.
That is awesome. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. we got to get that out. Make
Yes,
sure that
definitely.
everybody is aware of that.
Yes.
So most recently, you were involved in our Woman in the Fire Department's Women's Day event.
Yes.
Can you talk about that experience? And I mean, you can feel free to comment on how you wish, but I heard it was an awesome
It
experience.
was. It really was.
Yep.
And to be able to just have that platform was awesome. I was able to share my story, and I went a little more in depth. I talked about, molestation in the families and how generations have kept it a secret and how no one wants to talk about it. But this thing still continues to go on.
Right.
And so, again, my Women of Valor program is another outlet where these young women can come and talk about that type of thing, and we share stories. So I just got to kind of like the nitty gritty stuff that, people don't want to talk about because
Sure.
it's still real life.
Right.
And as I said before, we have to share our stories because someone's life depends on it.
Right. And normally, if you hear enough stories, you hear your story.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That is awesome.
Absolutely.
So, for your programs, for the future development of any other programs that you think of, like what are your aspirations, for the future of your mentoring program and the fund?
Right, I have a lot. I'm actually writing a book as well.
Okay.
And it's about my son and share my testimony through it. And that's called The Life and Legacy of Jason A. Patton, and it's a mother's testimony through it.
Okay.
So I'm writing a book on that. Also, I am in the works of starting a consulting firm for people that may want to start their own nonprofit, or for someone that has a vision and just doesn't know where to start.
Yes.
So my consulting firm would be the place for you to come, and I can help you along with where you want to be as far as your vision is concerned.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's helping entrepreneurs or anyone who wants to get started with their own nonprofit.
Correct. Correct.
That's
Writing
that's
a
so
book,
great.
whatever it may be.
Yeah. And writing a book as well.
Yeah.
So are there any other endeavors that you would care to share with us? Like that you're involved with, or that you aspire to start? You already told us about the book you're writing. Anything else?
So what I would like to do, my vision is to actually have an umbrella LLC, and it's going to be called Valor Inc.
Okay.
And under that would be Job World, under that would be the Woman of Valor, and under that would be the consulting firm, the book writing, and have other people that may want to come under that umbrella.
Yes.
To let's go out and let's help the community as a whole.
Sure.
I just want Job World and Woman of Valor to get bigger.
Yes.
To be able to reach more people
Okay.
in the community. Also, I would like to do like women, grown women. A lot of us are broken.
Sure.
So my vision also was to start a program where they can come in, just like my Woman of Valor women, but they're just the older version,
Sure.
and be able to share their stories, and let's talk about it, and let's see what we can do to kind of help heal you and the different processes. Because again, because of things I have gone through, I know the process of what you have to do to heal yourself and to free yourself up so you can give back.
Yes.
Fully.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it's getting the initial response from, when you're dealing with children, it's a lot different, but when you're dealing with adults like to hold it
Yes.
close to themselves.
Absolutely.
So, that's.
Absolutely.
So have you used social media other than, the websites, but have you used social media to help support
Definitely.
the fund?
So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. So what I do, I share my story on everything. All the processes that I'm going through, whether I'm happy, whether I'm sad, whatever emotion it may be.
Okay.
Good stuff and bad stuff.
Sure.
And that helps a lot of people as well. So I've gotten so many inboxes and DMs just saying how I encourage them with my strength, how I inspire them. So
Okay.
that alone helps. Even mothers that have lost their children, they have inbox me and just say, you're inspiration to me, you help me to keep going. So that alone just lets me know that just sharing my life like that helps.
Yeah, and it does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so for the future, for the immediate future, do you have anything, like, I know you did Women's Day with us.
Yes.
You're doing this show right now with us. Is there any other place we can look forward to seeing Maxayn?
Not that I know of, but it's all in God's hands.
Absolutely, it certainly
and
is.
I know that He will open up more doors. I have spoken at a few places. I have also been on the news a few times with Boys Latin, helping with, talking to the young men about violence and stuff like that. Also with Senator Anthony Williams as well.
Yes.
We did a thing at Boys Latin as well.
Okay.
We did a practice for peace as well with Boys Latin. There was also a write-up in the Inquirer about my son and the story behind it and everything like that.
Okay.
So as time progresses, like different doors are opening up because more people are getting to see who I am, and what I do.
Okay.
So I'm sure more things will definitely open up. Yeah.
Okay, well, I really appreciate you for joining us
you.
today and
Yes.
sharing a little bit of your story with us.
Absolutely.
And hopefully, I'll get to see what this grows into.
Definitely,
And hopefully we hear bigger and better things.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you don't mind, like again, for people to reach me, you can go on, my Woman of Valor is womanofvalor74@gmail. You can email me,
Sure.
jazworld18@gmail. Also, those same things are on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
So everything is open.
All
Yeah,
right.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank
and
you.
we really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, so now we're going to take a short break, but when we return, we'll hear about Pennsylvania Task Force 1, a very special element of the Special Operations Command of the Philadelphia Fire Department. Stay with us.
Wake each morning and get lost in the adventure, knowing that you will be ready for wherever the day takes you. Learn from those willing to teach. Their wisdom and their strength will become yours. They will impart to you a tradition of education nationally recognized for its value. A tradition worthy of your best efforts. As Young men and women of LaSalle, we will invest in you the guidance to blaze your own path, to go forth into the unknown with new certainty, to realize your full potential as professionals, as leaders, as citizens. To take up your place as the accountants, speech therapists, journalists, and CEOs of your generation. To impact this city and the world beyond. These adventures are yours, and you are ready for them. Explorers are never lost.
Hooked to the double feature and you're on my mind. Return of the creature that crawler from the subway line. You're always keeping me waiting, keeping me waiting for you.
Welcome back to Freedom from Fire. I'm your host, Deputy Fire Commissioner Craig Murphy. Our first responders, firefighters, and paramedics who answer the calls in the local community are also a national resource. Some of these members are utilized with Pennsylvania Task Force One. When man-made or natural disasters occur, members can be deployed anywhere in the country. Pennsylvania Task Force One is one of 28 certified operational and deployable federal assets of the National Urban Search and Rescue System, established by FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Urban Search and Rescue Task Force members work in 4 areas of specialization: search and rescue to find victims trapped after a disaster, rescue, which includes safe removal of victims out of tons of collapsed debris, concrete and metal, technical, made up of structural specialists who make rescue safe for the rescuers, and medical, which cares for the victims before and after a rescue. Here to tell us more about Pennsylvania Task Force One is Deputy Chief of Operations Carl Randolph and Lieutenant Ken Pagurek. Welcome. How
Thank
you
you.
gentlemen doing today?
Good afternoon, Chief. Good afternoon. Very good.
It's a pleasure to have you on our show.
Thank you.
All right, so please, just tell us a brief bit of history about PA Task Force One.
Okay, so before we get started, I'd like to say that today, I've been a member of PA Task Force One since about 2006.
Yes.
So being privileged enough to be in Special Operations Command in that position, I brought along with me Lieutenant Kenny Pagurek, who is the program manager, and a classmate of mine from the 168 almost 25 years ago. So we started together, and I really like for him to start to explain a lot about what goes on in PA Task Force One.
Okay, I appreciate that. So Lieutenant Pagurek, who at one point in time used to work for me. So how are you,
I'm
Lieutenant
doing well,
Pagurek?
Chief. Thanks very much.
Good. Can you give us a little bit about the history of PA Task Force One and how the 28 task forces came into play, how Pennsylvania became one of the 28 task forces?
Absolutely.
And how it came to the city of Philadelphia?
Yes, sir. So, as you stated, we're one of 28 teams located throughout the United States as part of the Federal Urban Search and Rescue Program, which is comprised of roughly 6,000 people. In the mid to late 1990s, around 1996, the task force, Pennsylvania Task Force One, got certified and recognized as one of the 27, but made it the 28th team into this system. From 96-ish to roughly 2008, the team was based out of Harrisburg, sponsored by the City of Harrisburg, Harrisburg Fire Department. And in 08, City of Harrisburg relinquished the team. It went out for application within the Commonwealth, and at the time, Commissioner Ayers gave instructions and applied for the team, and we were successful in being awarded the sponsoring agency status for Pennsylvania Task Force 1.
Thank you. All right, so are there specific guidelines in place that warrant the activation of the task force? And if there are, just explain what those guidelines are.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of rules and regulations that we have to follow because we report to multiple agencies. We have, as you know, the Fire Department, PEMA, Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, and then, of course, the federal government, DHS, FEMA. We can be used in multiple ways for local responses under the direction of the commissioner, sponsoring agency chief. We can be used at the request of PEMA and the Commonwealth. And of course, there's the Stafford Act and presidential declarations that federalize us and afford us the ability to leave the Commonwealth to assist or potentially assist people that could be in need of rescue.
Sure. All right, so this is a quick question. When you deploy, is it only in the continental United States, or do we deploy anywhere else in the world? Or have we deployed anywhere else in the world?
Typically and traditionally, Pennsylvania Task Force 1 only deploys within the continental United States. But in recent years, members have been deployed overseas. We had folks in Haiti. We had myself operated for 40 days in the USVI, Puerto Rico, St. John, St. Thomas, St. Croix. But traditionally and historically, there's really two international teams, USA 1 and USA 2, LA County and Fairfax County, Virginia.
Yes.
And they are the ones that work with OFTA and USAID to handle international requests for rescue services. However, they may send us anywhere at any time, it seems as though anymore.
Yes.
We have to be flexible and fluid.
Yep. Thank you. So how many members are organized when the task force is ready to deploy? Like deploy, when you go out as a type, can you explain the type of resources you go out as?
Oftentimes we'll be deployed as a Type 1 task force, heavy rescue task force. That's 70 personnel plus 10 additional, so 80 overall. We are rostered currently around 214 people on the team. Obviously, we can't take everybody at one time because we have to meet our number of 80. Once we get the activation order that we're going to deploy, we will bring in 100, 110-ish people. There's a lot of moving parts. It takes a lot of support from the fire department, you know, whether it be medics to come in and medic units to help give each of our folks the medical checks that they get prior to departing. We have 4 hours from the time that we sign off and accept the mission that we're going to go over the road to be on the road and en route to our point of arrival.
Okay. So, and I think you kind of mentioned it. Explain to us like the makeup of the task force, but also how many members did you say are a part of the task force as a whole? 200 some odd?
Yeah. Currently, we're sitting right around 214. It fluctuates, you know, every other month. Somebody retires or somebody else comes on from participating or the sponsoring agency. The overall makeup of the team is about 42 to 45 participating agencies, with Philadelphia Fire Department being the sponsoring agency. Of that, we have 214 people to staff 17 positions on the team. Those positions include everything from canine search handlers to medical specialists, trauma doctors as medical team managers, engineers. So the team is built out to operate, a Type 1 team is built out for continuous operations of 24 hours a day. We're able to split the team in half and do daytime, nighttime operations.
Yes.
And when we go out the door, we use even numbers. So if we take 2 medical team managers, we take 2 hazmat team managers.
Okay. Tell us a little bit more about the specialized training that these folks get to be able to deploy.
Yeah, that's the people that participate on this team dedicate an incredible amount of time to training and building their skill sets up, from trauma surgeons to firefighters who are rescue specialists. Just from a technical rescue standpoint, you know, a typical firefighter gets anywhere from between 450 to 520 hours of technical rescue training before we would even really consider bringing them onto the team. And that doesn't include the basic firemanship that would be required, whether it be advanced SCBA, Fire 1, Fire 2. Those are all prerequisites.
Yes. Yeah. So All right, what are some examples of tasks when you're deployed? Give us a few examples of, on a deployment, depending on what it's deployed for, a disaster man-made or a natural disaster.
Sure. We're pretty much Semper Gumby. We can engage on anything and everything from heavy search and rescue in a collapsed structure to wide area search of Jackson County, which was 500 square miles in Florida during Hurricane Michael this year. During Sandy, we were able to give food and rations out to folks that other people couldn't get into. They were cut off, they didn't have power. They sent us into high rises, and we issued out MREs and blankets for folks. So
More like a humanitarian.
Humanitarian,
Okay.
Exactly.
Awesome.
And the mission changes from water rescue to wide area search to monitoring rivers and bridges and infrastructure that could be damaged and critically affected.
Awesome, that's awesome. So just really quickly, some of the past deployments, you just mentioned two,
Yeah.
Sandy and Michael, but what
Sandy,
else?
Michael, last year was Florence, the year before Harvey, Maria, Irma, and then there's the in-state. We stood up for the papal visit.
Yep.
And when there was the explosion at the warehouse up in Center State, up
Yep.
that way, we're available and we will respond as requested.
And as a member of Pennsylvania Task Force 1 myself, I had deployed to the World Trade Center collapse. We as a task force, Hurricane Katrina, Rita, Gustav. I mean, the hits just keep on coming. We could just, but we're always prepared and we're always ready to go.
To date, we have 50 deployments since our inception.
There you go. Wow. There you go. And if we had a little bit more time, we could talk about the role of the program manager, but that could be a whole episode in itself.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you for the work that you do, and we appreciate you, Chief, for sharing them with us.
Thank you.
In closing, we'll probably have you back on, and we'll probably go into some of that discussion that we just don't have time for right now. But again, thank you for everything.
Okay.
And we
One last
appreciate
thing.
it. Yes.
Happy birthday, Lieutenant Pagurek.
Thanks, Chief.
All right. Thank you. All right. Remember, if you would like to find out more about LaSalle TV, you can check out our social media sites. And if you are interested in learning about the Philadelphia Fire Department, visit our Facebook, Twitter, and web pages. I would like again to thank our guests for joining us today. I also would like to thank you for tuning in and watching. So, until next time, remember, fire is everyone's fight. Stay safe and remain free from fire.